By 1974, headlines whispered of a possible maniac, but the term serial killer was still considered too sensational for the time. The terror began in November of 1971. Colette Wilson, just 13 years old, stepped off her school bus, waved goodbye and vanished. Months later, her body was discovered near a bayou. She had been shot in the head. The community was stunned. Weeks after Colette's discovery, another young life was stolen. 14-year-old Brenda Jones disappeared while walking to a babysitting job. Her remains were later found on a Galveston beach. By 1974, headlines whispered of a possible maniac, but the term serial killer was still considered too sensational for the time. The cases weren't connected by a terrified public or the authorities. It was Heidi Fye, a 23-year-old bartender who had vanished months earlier after using a payphone. Her body lay naked, her arms meticulously folded across her chest, as if she had been posed. Detectives descended on the scene, but the trail went cold and the file on Heidi Fye's murder slipped to the bottom of the pile. They had no idea this same patch of brush would eventually give up the remains of 3 more women. 16-year-old Laura Miller lived just a mile from where Heidi Fye's body was discovered. The story unnerved her, yet one night she walked to that same payphone to call her boyfriend. Laura never came home. Laura's father, Tim Miller, begged police to search every inch of Calder Road, convinced his daughter was there, but they told him a father's gut instinct wasn't enough evidence to justify such a massive search. Then, in February of 1986, Laura's remains were found less than 50 yards from where Heidi Fye had been discovered. The scene was sickeningly similar, the same posture, the same nakedness. The community stopped using the word coincidence. This was a pattern, this was terror, and for Tim Miller, it was the beginning of a lifelong crusade for justice. With Laura Miller's discovery, detectives could no longer deny they were dealing with a serial killer, but the tools to catch such a monster were, by modern standards, primitive. DNA science was in its infancy. They had bones, hair, and not much else. Then, the fields off Calder Road gave up 2 more secrets.